So 3 years ago, I cold emailed Mark Cuban asking if he'd want to invest in my startup. And he actually responded saying that he'd be potentially interested if we got traction. So I figured now that we're doing pretty well as a startup, why not follow up with him and see if he'd want to invest and also see how many other billionaires we can get to invest into my startup. So here's the game plan. I've laid out 25 billionaires for us to reach out to in order for us to work our way up to the golden goose, which is landing Mark as an investor. So I figured why not start with one of the most polarizing billionaires out there, Chamath Palihapitiya. Subject line, fellow immigrant reaching out. Fellow immigrant founder reaching out. Dear Chamath, I absolutely loved your talk at Stanford Business School, specifically how you laid out your game plan for how you want to use your wealth to democratize the playing field for everyone.
There's about 150 people that run the world. They control most of the important assets. They control the money flows. I want to break through and be at that table. And then once I'm there, I can open the door for other people who can try to do the same thing.
Our mission here at Stan is the same. Our goal is to empower anyone to make money working for themselves. And we'd love to have you on the journey. To date, we've grown from 0 to $15 million in annual recurring revenue in just the last 2 years. We've helped over 40,000, now it's crazy, it was 30,000 just a couple months ago. We've helped over 40,000 creators generate almost 100 million, tens of millions of dollars, and we're profitable. Smiley face. Would absolutely love to have you join the cap table from one immigrant to another. All right, should we do Zucc next? I don't think he's gonna respond, but I'm gonna brute force Mark at facebook.com. I'm gonna guess his email. I should do Mark at meta.com in the BCC line. Mark.Zuckerberg. Subject line. I've got two ideas. The news feed changed my life. Or you'd be like, 15 plus year Facebook user reaching out. Hey Mark, Facebook fundamentally changed my life as a millennial. Everything you've built, from Facebook to Instagram to even WhatsApp, has deeply shaped the social connections in my life. It's like kind of crazy to think about. We are trying to make a similar impact in people's lives here at Stan. Over the last 2 years, since I dropped out of Stanford, because he dropped out of Harvard, we've grown from 0 to $15 million in annual recurring revenue, helped over, I think it's at least 20,000 Instagram creators make a living doing what they love, and we're profitable. Would love to have you join the cap table and help you crush TikTok and X. All right, should we do Kim? I actually really respect Kim as a person, like love or hate the Kardashians, what have you, but you gotta admit they're killer executors on like building a brand in their own empire. And from what I've seen, Kim works super hard. So I'd absolutely love to have her brand on board in terms of distribution. So the issue with getting into celebrities is it's really hard to actually like get in touch with them because they have so many people reaching out to them. They have like managers and all these people. So I'm gonna do some research and figure out how I can actually get in touch with her. Okay, so Kim just launched a private equity firm called Sky Partners, and the thesis is basically to use her as a distribution channel. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take a look at the team and see if there's any way that I can get into Kim through a private equity firm. All right, team. Dude, what a flex on your team page. You just have Kim Kardashian as your managing partner. That's like actually hilarious. Oh, okay, I have an in. So their other managing partner, Jay Salmons, actually went to UNC for undergrad. I did too, and the number one thing I've actually learned in terms of getting your foot in the door or building a relationship with someone is actually to have a shared connection. So I'm gonna try this as my in. Fellow UNC alum reaching out. Hey Jay, I'm a fellow Tar Heel and a consumer startup founder because their thesis is to focus on consumer investing. Over the last 2 years, I built a company called Stan, which is essentially a Shopify for content creators who are realizing the same thesis that Kim did, that they can be the distribution channel for any brand. Maybe the same thesis that Kim did with Skims, because Skims she's crushing it with and it's gonna go public to be a multi-billion-dollar company. Since then, we've scaled from yada, yada, yada. You guys know this part, which is basically just like showing the stats to be like, hey, I'm worthwhile, super easy to read, super concise, the numbers like, okay, this is a good business. Would love to chat sometime and learn more about Sky. But boom, pretty solid. Oh, you know who we should do next? Robert Smith. So Robert Smith, if you haven't heard of him, is an absolute killer. He started this private equity fund called Vista Equity Partners, and he's basically one of the first black men to ever be in the industry. He's built like one of the most successful private equity funds of all time. And he also did this super cool flex where he gave the graduation speech at Morehouse and then paid for everyone's student loans. So I would love to have him on the cap table. He's super cool. So I gotta figure out a way to connect with Robert in terms of a shared connection. And he actually started his career post-business school at Goldman. And I also started my career at Goldman in banking. So I'm gonna do fellow Goldman alum reaching out. So actually, I'm even hesitant to use this title of using Goldman in this, because part of the reason why I wanna do this video is to show you that like, you don't actually need anything except for like sheer hustle and like human connection to actually get your foot in the door anywhere. And so I can imagine like if you see me type this type, like, oh my God, well, I'm not a Goldman alum, John, or you have all this background, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm not gonna get my foot in, but like, I promise you guys, when I started this back in the day, like, yes, I have like 15 years of super hard work, like getting all these societal stamps of approval on my resume. But when I first started, like single mom, came from nothing, like absolutely no connections. And I was sending out the same amount of cold emails to people trying to get my foot in the door. But in this case, if you have some sort of credential you've worked hard for, you should flex it in a humble way. So, hi Robert, I've always had immense respect for how you built Vista and how you've donated your wealth since then. After starting my career at Goldman, I dropped out of Stanford Business School to start my own SaaS business, because he invests in SaaS, software as a service businesses, which I've scaled this past year from $1 to $15 million in ARR. We're also profitable. And I keep mentioning this because it's an important context for an investor. Like, you don't want to invest in a company that's growing a ton, but it's like burning a ton of cash too. And also specifically, Robert invests in profitable growing technology companies. And then I'm going to insert some knowledge I know about Vista, which is they're absolute killer executors. Like, they just create financial value out of nowhere. But I've always deeply admired Vista's playbook and how the firm operates from first principles. If you'd be interested, I'd love to learn more about how Vista partners with its portcos and share more about Stan. Let's see how it goes. All right, so let's go big on this next one. Richard Branson. Dear Richard, I love the flow. I've also got a flow. I'm also a virgin. All right, let's write a more serious email now and see if he'll respond. So the next one is actually super strategic and someone I've always wanted to get to work with and learn from, and that is the founder of Stripe, Patrick Collison. So right now, we run all of our payments here at Stan through Stripe. Like, they literally process all of our payments, so they make a ton of money off of us. And I think they're actually a really strategic potential buyer of Stan one day. 3+ year Stripe customer reaching out. Hi, Patrick. Thank you for everything you've done to lift the internet economy. I run a company called Stan that's scaled from $1 to $15 million in ARR in just the last year, in part thanks to how easy you've made it to run payments. We are also big users of Stripe Connect. Thanks to Stripe, we've helped over 40,000 creators generate tens of millions of dollars. I want to make that billions of dollars for people one day, to make a living doing what they love and put food on the table for their families. As you think about Stripe's mission of growing the GDP of the internet, I think creator entrepreneurs are a key unlock for you and the business. Would love to connect about how Stan and Stripe could work more closely together. All right, let's see how that one does. All right, so next up, I think we should actually do Mr. Beast, who I'm not actually sure if he's a billionaire yet, but I have full faith and confidence that Jimmy will actually get there because he's an absolute killer. But no matter what, I know that if we were to get Jimmy on our board or on our cap table, he would have so many good learnings and so much good knowledge to share with all of our customers. All right, I'm gonna slide into his DMs. Hey, Jimmy. Oh, I have a good one. Rather than just give me $100,000 for free, why not give me $100,000 for a stake in my company where I try to then make it millions of dollars for you? Love what you're doing, man. Send. Realistically, of course, he's probably not gonna see this DM. So the other thing I know about him, which is really similar to Kim, is that he actually has his own venture fund, Night Venture. So I'm gonna shoot them an email and we'll see if they'll connect with us as well. All right, so this next one is huge. They are one of the most successful artists of all time, won tons of Grammys, also a killer marketer and executor, just like tons of respect for them as a person, and they put an NFL player on the map. And that is Taylor Swift. But seriously, shout out Taylor. Like, if you don't respect Taylor at this point, she's dropped so many bops over so many years, and she's just so incredibly insightful and a killer when it comes to marketing. So I would absolutely love to learn from her. And now I'm just thinking about how many cheesy jokes we could do. Hey Taylor, it would be a love story if you invested in Stan. Oh, another one. You know what never goes out of style? Investing in Stan. Or, hey Taylor, you belong with my startup, Prince Stan. And this is the closer. There is a blank space on our cap table. All right, so next up, Serena Williams, because she actually started a venture fund recently. And I don't know if she's technically a billionaire, but she is the GOAT. And so I would love to have her on the cap table, because like, imagine if we got Serena and then we convinced her to help us do a party round with all the other GOATs. So like, what if we had like MJ, LeBron, Leo, like everyone on our cap table would be kind of sick. Hey Serena, I might be bad at tennis, but I am good at business. All right, I can't say that, but hey Serena, I have a deep respect for how you've channeled your athletic achievements and fame into building real, lasting businesses. Here at Stan, we're trying to help the internet's creators do the same. I'm always attempting to channel a personal connection into telling our story at Stan. If you'd be interested, I'd love to learn more about Serena Ventures and share more about Stan. Set? All right, I'm gonna crank out a few more before we send our final email to Mark and see if he'll actually respond. All right, Sharks, it's time for Mark. So I first emailed Mark on my student email address, which I no longer have access to. So I need to remind him of our conversation. Hey, Mark, we first traded emails 3 years ago before I had dropped out of Stanford. At the time, you had recommended that I pivot the business to focus on selling NFTs. And I'm kind of glad I didn't take your advice at the time. That's a little spicy. Fortunately, I was a bit too headstrong. And by focusing on our core niche of helping creators build their own holistic business, we've actually scaled, say it with me, from 0 to $15 million in ARR in the last 2 years. This year, I want to take us from 15 to 40 million plus in ARR, so almost a triple on the year at a really large scale. We'll see if I hit it, and maintain our profitability on our journey to building a $1 billion company. So now we have to do a call to action, and I'm trying to figure out the right angle. Basically, Mark is an incredible personality, and people listen to him from an entrepreneurship perspective. It would be so cool, basically, to have him help us make content to inspire people to say hey, look at all these people on Stan who are literally, they're all just normal people being I'm passionate about this thing online, and I want to turn this hobby into a business or work on it full time. And to have Mark share that message would be super, super dope. I'm thinking about raising another round and would love to have you on the cap table. As our mission at Stan is to empower anyone to get to work for themselves. And your story of entrepreneurship would be deeply inspiring to the millions of creator entrepreneurs that we are seeking to empower. All right, let's see if he responds.
So I have some really good news for you, as well as some really bad news. And I figured we should probably start with the bad news, which is the whole point of this video was to see if we could actually get Mark Cuban to respond and be potentially interested in investing in our startup. And he actually did respond, which is really cool, but I will have to read you the email thread. So if you'll remember from my email to him, I decided to be a little edgy and make a joke about how he had recommended that I pivot the business at the time to focus on NFTs. But of course, caught him up on the context of the business and how it's scaled well and how inspiring he'd be for all of our creators and customers who use Stan. And I don't think the joke landed exactly properly, because you'll see in his response to me, he says, I would just give them more bad advice. I'm glad you didn't follow it too. All the best. And of course, immediately I'm like, no, Mark, no, you're totally good. Please, I want more advice, please. So in my follow-up here, I really wanted to make clear, no, you'd be super helpful on the cap table, but also worst case scenario, would you even be down for me to just pitch you on a YouTube video? To which, of course, he politely declined. So I will admit to you guys that I am feeling a little bit sad right now, because I really respect the way Mark conducts himself in business. I really look up to him. I really just appreciate that he even responded to me in the first place. So at some point, I will find a way to get to work with Mark. But thankfully, in the meantime, Mark wasn't the only one who responded. And what's really interesting about this good news I'm about to get to share with you is that it actually came out of some bad news in a way that I think is actually a really good life lesson for what it takes to actually be successful and make it. And that's that the bad news in this case that I got even more of was that I actually did get a couple more responses from folks. I got a response from Kim Kardashian's fund and a couple other people, including Steve Case, who's the former CEO of AOL. But the thing is with all of these responses is that they were all rejections. And so I actually wanted to record this video a few weeks ago for y'all because I was assuming that I'd get some sort of good response initially, but I just didn't feel like I got a satisfying enough response for you guys that we could actually celebrate. And so after that first week of a ton of rejections, I said, screw it, we're gonna send some follow-ups. And at the same time, I even started sending out even more new emails to new billionaires where I was literally I took Forbes' billionaire list and I just started scrolling on it trying to find anyone that I found inspiring. But even with all of that effort, it was still crickets. And so over the last month of me sending tons of cold emails, I'd pretty much given up hope. But that was until the other day where I had just woken up from a nap and I was in that totally post-nap grogginess where I opened up my phone and to my complete surprise, because I had just given up hope at this point, I get an email response back from Chamath Palihapitiya saying, let me pull it up. Hi, let's try it. And I kid you not, when I saw this response, I got so hyped that I was like, I have to record it for everyone. I like have to show them my reaction. So I'll play that right here.
Guys, I just woke up from a nap and I just had to turn on my phone to show you guys. All right, let me pull this up. Let's go, dude. Let's go. Oh my God. Okay. Let me pull this up. Chamath Palihapitiya. Hi, let's try it. Seeing Ali who works with me on this kind of stuff. Chamath, let's go.
And so coming out of that, I think the lesson to be learned here is to always shoot your shot. Because you can send hundreds of shots, you can send hundreds of emails and get rejected hundreds of times, but you just need one shot to land. Where for me, I'm about to go pitch Chamath Palihapitiya on investing in my startup, all because I chose to put myself out there. So if you don't want to miss out on the journey and the pitch, make sure to subscribe.